Welcome on board the Newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. The infighting in the Punjab Congress has gone from bad to worse. Something has to give soon. But when and how? And what might that be? This tussle between Sidhu and Captain Amarinder Singh cannot continue in this fashion for too long. That big story is my top focus on the Newstrack.
Captain versus Sidhu war reloaded. Sidhu camp plots coup against Chief Minister. Gandhis fail to leash Navjot Sidhu. Earlier crossfire, just an appetizer. 100% ugly jibes and furious tamasha. Punjab potboiler eroding Pol Shakti, big focus on Newstrack.
Despite being made the PCC chief, Navjot Singh Sidhu continuing his pot shots against Captain Amarinder Singh. There is no end to the war between Captain Amarinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu in Punjab. And it seems that the crisis has now gone beyond the control of the Gandhi family. MLAs from the Sidhu camp have been demanding publicly the removal of Captain Amarinder Singh as Chief Minister. For now, they've been told that Amarinder Singh is the captain of Punjab. The dissidents met Punjab in charge Harish Rawat in Dehradun today. And the message to them was clear. Amarinder will lead the Congress in the 2022 elections. But what will be Sidhu's next move?
Round 2 of the Sidhu versus Amarinder power tussle has gone the captain's way. With just months left for the all-crucial assembly elections in Punjab, the warring Sardars are at it again. After the Congress High Command placated Sidhu the first time around, this time they've said enough is enough. At the centre of it was a meeting between Navjot Singh Sidhu and 31 MLAs, including 4 cabinet ministers.
बहुत सारे वादे कांग्रेस पार्टी ने पूरे कीते हैं लेकिन ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਾਅਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਰੋਧੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟਕਰਾਅ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਖੜੇ ਹੈ ਅੱਜ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਸਲੇ ਹੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੇਂਦਰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ
These disgruntled Punjab legislators took the fight to the High Command, who've now set the record straight on who's the captain of the Punjab Congress.
Harish Rawat has not only snubbed the disgruntled ministers but have clearly told them that any demand to replace Captain Amarinder Singh will not be met. He has also told them that the 2022 assembly elections will also be fought under the leadership of Captain Amarinder Singh.
यदि किसी को किसी से कोई नाराजगी है तो नाराजगी कांग्रेस के रास्ते में नहीं आनी चाहिए कांग्रेस के रास्ते में नहीं आनी चाहिए कांग्रेस के लिए बहुत आवश्यक है कि वो मिल करके चुनाव लड़े पंजाब में
The Amarinder camp, meanwhile, has also sent across a stern message to the rebels.
आज मंत्रियों को दिक्कत आ रही है 4.5 साल बाद तो अपने पद से इस्तीफा देकर बाहर निकल जाना चाहिए खुद ही क्योंकि जिसके ऊपर सवाल उठा रहे हो उसी ने 4.5 साल काम कर दिखाए हैं
Amarinder Singh's wife Praneeth Kaur also hasn't minced words. Wading into the controversy, she's lashed out at Sidhu, squarely blaming him for the leadership crisis in Punjab.
He is the one who started, it's his advisors. Once the decision had been taken by the High Command, Sidhu was coming. CM said, yes, it's the Congress President's decision, I abide by it. So they should also fall into line. This is not a time to rake up all these things. You rake them up at the party platform. And go ahead, we want a united Congress to fight the election.
For now, the Congress High Command has categorically stated that they will not tolerate any rebellion against Captain Amarinder Singh. But will the Sidhu camp agree to work under the Chief Minister's leadership in the run-up to this election? With Manjeet Sehgal in Chandigarh, Bureau Report, India Today.
In this second round in the battle against Sidhu and Captain, it's not just Sidhu who's targeting the Punjab Chief Minister directly, but it's Sidhu's advisor, Malvinder Singh Mali, who's come out all guns blazing against Captain Amarinder Singh. Mali has now called the Punjab Chief Minister Ali Baba and his supporters Charlie Chor. Remember, Captain had called out Mali for his anti-India comments, after which Sidhu's advisor had put out personal pictures of Amarinder Singh with a friend of his who happened to be Pakistani. This fight has now got downright ugly and very personal.
Navjot Singh Sidhu's advisor, Malvinder Singh Mali, has been relentless in his attacks against the Punjab Chief Minister. A day after posting Captain Amarinder Singh's picture with a Pakistani journalist, Malvinder Singh Mali has now called Amarinder Ali Baba and his supporters as Charlie Chor. Sidhu's advisor is continuing his personal attacks on the Chief Minister, this time choosing an Arabian Nights folklore to snipe at the captain's army. Besides calling his supporters as Charlie Chor or 40 thieves, Mali didn't spare senior Congress leader Manish Tiwari either, calling him Ludhiana's Baghoda or a proclaimed offender. And Mali didn't stop there. He even labelled Captain Loyalist and the Public Works Department Minister Vijay Inder Singla as one of the 40 thieves. Mali's remarks have not gone down well with the Captain camp.
हमने एक साफ कह दिया है कि वो सलाहकार एक हैं या कितने हैं, उसे कांग्रेस का कुछ भी लेना देना नहीं है, और श्री सिद्धू जी को भी ये बात कह दी गई है कि वो अपने सलाहकारों को नियंत्रण में रखें.
Mali, who once served as a political secretary to Amarinder Singh, is now an advisor to Sidhu. On Tuesday, he posted a picture of Captain with a Pakistani journalist to counter the Chief Minister's attack on him for calling Jammu and Kashmir a separate country. Captain Amarinder Singh and his aides warned Mali against issuing anti-India remarks, but he remains unapologetic.
If someone does not respect the unanimous position taken by the Indian Parliament on this issue, forget political parties, this is the unanimous national position on this issue, then a very, very serious question manifests itself that should such a person be really even a part of the country.
Mali even defended his post, showing Indira Gandhi holding a gun with a human skull hanging from the barrel.
कोई भी एंटी नेशनल नहीं, ये जेडे मेरे विचार ने उदू पहला दे ने 89 दे ने, उदू बाद मैंने सरकार ने नौकरी च लिया, मैं फोटो हटा दूं जो मैं संपादक सी ओदा वो ते लेख छपे हुए ने, फिर तुसी वो कह दोगे आ लेख ने. मेरा नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू दे पंजाब बारे एजेंडे नाल सांझ आ, ये सांझ खातर सब कुछ करन नूं तैयार आ.
The endless controversial remarks by his advisors have put Navjot Singh Sidhu in a tight spot. While he called an emergency meet to tackle the crisis, he hasn't said anything to Malvinder Mali publicly. Bureau Report, India Today.
You've got 30 sitting MLAs in the Congress in Punjab and 4 ministers asking for the Chief Minister's resignation. The Chief Minister isn't a BJP or Akali leader, he's a Congress leader. Captain and Sidhu are very clearly still at war, despite Captain Amarinder Singh accepting graciously that Sidhu would be in charge, because that's what Ten Janpath wanted, even though he didn't agree. Sidhu at this moment unable to rein in his advisors. How long will these go on for? Where and when could it end? And what impact will it have on the big polls in Punjab next year? Joining me for perspective, my colleague Rajdeep Sardesai. With us on this broadcast is Fateh Bajwa. He's the MLA from Gurdaspur, a member of the Congress. We have Ramesh Vinayak, who's a senior journalist, executive editor at Hindustan Times. We have Raghav Chadda joining us. This is the third time Raghav's come back on exactly the same topic, and he'd be relishing it each time because it works to his party's advantage. Rashid Kidwai joins us. I remember Rashid Kidwai was on this broadcast last time, and he was very confident that the Gandhis have been able to call a truce and that the situation would resolve itself. That clearly has not happened. Rajdeep? You know, it's like harakiri, they're shooting at each other and taking the Congress ship down with them in Punjab.
You know, Rahul, I hate to say I told you so, but you'll recall on this very program a few weeks ago, I had said that it appeared that the Congress was on a suicide mission. that simply appointing Mr. Sidhu as president and saying that Amarinder Singh will continue as chief minister was not enough, because the ruptures and the fractures are too raw. And now look at the bizarre situation which the Congress finds itself in. Amarinder Singh couldn't control a seemingly loose-mouthed Sidhu. Sidhu can't control Malvinder Mali, who seems to be a political suicide bomber.
You're saying he can't control? What if he's egging him on and saying bolo bolo?
If he is, then that's even worse. Because let's be clear, you have created a pool of advisors who seem to be increasing by the day, almost like a parallel cabinet. You know, making their own statements, announcements, attacking their own ministers. You've created two power centers, and you have allowed these power centers to be uncontrolled. 5 months before an election, you've got the chief minister and your party president literally at war with each other. So my sense is that the Congress is, you can use the word harakiri, suicide mission, either way putting itself in jeopardy in a state where clearly it had the advantage, a state where they won virtually every election over the last 7 years, because you have a personality clash. And the sense I get is the only reason the Congress was pushed now to appoint Sidhu was because Mr. Sidhu would have otherwise possibly crossed over to Aam Aadmi party. That was the fear you had. You stopped Mr. Sidhu from doing that, but have given him the sense that he is the chief minister and waiting. Why is Captain Amarinder Singh going to campaign in the next 5 months if Mr. Sidhu is going to become chief minister? And look at what could happen, Rahul. Conceivably, you have a faction of the Congress, you have the Akalis who are watching this with glee, you have the BJP, which has no stakes in Punjab but would be happy to tie up with any arrangement post-election, and you have a faction of the Congress.
And you have 30 farmer union leaders who are striking, who are talking about the possibility of setting up their own party, which could be an X factor in the election.
Absolutely.
If that party happens.
But I think the real central issue at the moment is the complete inability of the Congress High Command to enforce discipline, not just in Punjab, but as we've seen, they are struggling to do that in Chhattisgarh, which is why both their top leaders, Baghel and T.S. Singh, they came to Delhi to meet Rahul Gandhi. And you've got Ashok Gehlot, who has been refusing to expand his cabinet and accommodate Sachin Pilot's associates. You've got and this is the point I made then, unless the Congress High Command is able to assert its authority, Sidhu versus Captain Amarinder Singh is heading to the point of no return.
It already has, in many ways, reached the point of no return. Rashid Kidwai, on the last broadcast, you said, I am telling you that this is going to get resolved, that this has already been put in place, that there will not be a problem, and you see Captain will accept the decision and things will be fine. Look at the manner in which Navjot Singh Sidhu is continuing to undermine his chief minister despite the stage having been beautifully set up for him. He's been made Pradesh Congress chief, he's in charge. He has been told that he will lead the election campaign. Somehow he doesn't seem enough. He doesn't seem satisfied. He wants to take the captain down before the elections. In that bargain, he could potentially take the party down too.
Yes, Rahul, a problem is that a political party cannot keep pace with media and particularly television news setup. See, the Congress leadership is still in command. It has directed through Harish Rawat to Sidhu to rein in his advisors, and there is going to be some resolution of crisis. And infighting is endemic. It's there in the BJP. That's why the chief ministers of Karnataka and Uttarakhand were changed before 2017 elections. Anandiben was removed and Rupani was brought in, and it's happening in. If you look at in RJD,
it's not this ugly. Sorry, even when there was some sniping in the BJP in Uttar Pradesh, nobody came out and started fighting publicly like this. Nobody demanded Yogi Adityanath's resignation. 30 MLAs, 4 ministers demanding that Amarinder Singh step down.
Well, Rahul, clearly my understanding and your understanding of UP, what happened to Mr. A.K. Sharma episode is very different. Anyway, I don't want to just argue on that. What I'm saying is it's very much there, and particularly for a political party that is out of power, this is bound to happen. More importantly, Mr. Age is not on Captain Amarinder Singh's side. Congress has to win election, and that's why they have brought in Sidhu. Now Sidhu is acting, obviously he wants to reassert himself and position himself as the chief ministerial candidate. The Congress is trying not to let this happen. This will go on, but that doesn't mean things are out of control.
I don't disagree with what Rashid Kidwai says when he says factionalism is endemic to political parties, especially the Congress. Even when the Congress has been in power, Rahul, we've seen attempts made to oust a particular chief minister. That happens. What has happened is you've appointed someone like Mr. Sidhu, who at the end of the day is a maverick. He's not someone who has...
he walked out of a dressing room in England when Azharuddin was captain.
In 1996 cricket tour. But, I won't go into his past. The fact is that you've got someone who's extremely ambitious, but who is not a traditional Congress neta. Who therefore...
And not much of a team player either.
So he's a disruptor. You see, when you have a disruptionist versus a traditional Congress old-style leader, it's a recipe for disaster unless you have worked out the clear lines of what their responsibilities are.
But you can be a disruptor if you are Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi trying to disrupt the Sheila Dikshit administration. Then you can be a disruptor. You can't be a disruptor from within. Rahul Gandhi thinks he can be a disruptor from within, and we're seeing the Congress having to pay for that.
No. You see, my sense is Sidhu is a popular leader. I can understand where the Congress thought that they needed Sidhu on their side. He's extremely popular, particularly among a younger generation. But popularity does not automatically confer on you the right to then start taking over the party unless the Congress had decided that Captain Amarinder... You see, the Congress should have then taken the role that we had the captain era is over. Mr. Sidhu is our anointed choice. He will now be chief minister, and you could have done it a year before, like the BJP has attempted in Uttarakhand. It's resulted in disruption in the BJP ranks, but they've taken a call that they wanted a change in leadership. So either you go in for a change in leadership. What you've done is you've left Captain feeling humiliated and Sidhu feeling that, look, my time has come, and thereby created a situation where Captain is not going to give up the seat space easily, and Sidhu is determined to create as much of disruption as possible.
The only people who are saying apna time aayega are the likes of Raghav Chadha and the others in the Aam Aadmi party, who are at this moment the principal beneficiaries from this fratricidal war that's going on in the Congress. Unless, of course, Raghav, Sidhu is your plant in the Congress and you've sent him there to do all of this.
Look, Rahul, electorally and politically, of course, the demise of the Congress, or the the fact that Congress is in a self-destruction mode, will be beneficial to, I think, us and every other non-Congress player in the state. However, as somebody who hails from the state, I feel very sorry, because the administration has come to a grinding halt. Now you have two factions, the Sidhu faction and the Captain faction. Now, Captain Amarinder has run perhaps the most nikammi sarkar that the history of independent India. When you travel through villages in Punjab, you will say that people themselves volunteer to say that Captain is running a Fudu sarkar, a nikammi sarkar, a sarkar that has done nothing in the last 4.5 years. On the other hand, you have Navjot Singh Sidhu, who is ideologically agnostic, who perhaps represents a lunatic swing of a pendulum, who goes from one party to another. One day he says that Sonia Gandhi is Munni and Manmohan Singh is neither Sardar nor a Sardar. And BJP is my Janani, my mother, Modi is like God to me. And the other, the following day he quits BJP
till not too long ago.
Well,
Sorry to intervene, Raghav Chadha, while you take the moral high ground on this, the fact is you were courting him. You were courting him till not too long ago. You would have loved to have Sidhu as on your side.
Mr. Sardesai, this is nothing but conjecture, and every journalist is entitled to their opinions, their assessment, and their conjecture. I can't possibly comment on it, and I have, in fact, if you were to just rewind back to a few weeks ago, I held a press conference in Chandigarh, wrote a letter to Navjot Singh Sidhu saying that stop behaving like an opposition leader. You have the blessings of the Congress High Command. You have the unequivocal support of the majority Congress MLAs. You are the Pradhan of the Congress Pradesh Committee. You are the ruling party. You are the government. Now make good all these promises. Stop behaving like an opposition leader. It is our job, the Aam Aadmi party, which is the principal opposition, to challenge the current government.
This is actually, Rajdeep, better for Raghav Chadha and the AAP, because if Sidhu had joined the AAP, then Raghav Chadha and Arvind Kejriwal would have had to deal with him, which would have been a nightmare. Here, if he's self-destructing the Congress, it's better, because at this moment, there's no farmers' party per se. The Aam Aadmi party is therefore the natural beneficiary of this fighting.
Rahul, may I just say one thing, which is that, the situation in Punjab is such, and I don't say this merely because I represent the Aam Aadmi party and I'm the co-in-charge for the affairs of Punjab for my party. The fact is that Akali Dal is the most discredited political force ever in the state of Punjab. People hate Akalis, people hate the Badals for their corruption and their nefarious activities. As far as the Congress is concerned, Congress is in itself a self-destruction mode, a suicidal mode. And therefore, the people of Punjab are saying we are looking for the Tisra Badal. We are looking eagerly for the alternative, the third alternative, and therefore there is a huge space for the Aam Aadmi party to capture, and the people of Punjab this time, I'm absolutely certain, are going to vote for the alternative called the Aam Aadmi party rather than the regular of the vote.
You've got 30 MLAs, including 4 cabinet ministers, asking for Captain Amarinder Singh's resignation. You've got Navjot Singh Sidhu's advisors attacking Indira Gandhi, attacking Captain Amarinder. What's going on? I want to first ask you, which camp are you in? Are you in the Sidhu camp? Are you in the Amarinder camp? Are you in the Bajwa camp? Are you in I'm not in any camp and I don't want to tell you which camp I am on national TV? Mr. Bajwa?
Rahul ji, I must tell you that I am a die-hard congressman, and there is no camp in the Congress. As I've been hearing the debate, there are no 30 MLAs with Sidhu. It is just 16 to 17 MLAs they've been calling, and they're having whatever meetings they're trying to browbeat Captain Amarinder Singh, trying to settle down the score with him. But I tell you one thing, Captain Amarinder Singh is the tallest face, the tallest leader in Punjab. Yesterday, the historical decision he took on sugarcane, the farmers with a rate of 350 rupees per quintal were dancing on the tunes. And that is the time, this is the time when the rest of the people, and I must say my PCC president Navjot Sidhu must join hands with Captain Amarinder and start going to the field. This is time for Congress not to, put fingers at each other, but go to the constituencies in Punjab.
So what you're saying is perfectly reasonable, but that conversation needs to happen within the Congress party, Mr. Bajwa. You've got Malvinder Singh Mali coming out publicly and attacking Amarinder Singh. He's calling them Ali Baba and his Chalice Chor. He's got a sketch of Indira Gandhi which has a human skull on one side, a gun on the other. And Navjot Singh Sidhu has said nothing against him.
It's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. The PCC president, when Mr. Navjot Singh Sidhu was made the president, he was given 4 working presidents with him. Look, he didn't need any advisors. But these advisors, those who have taken in his side, are neither the congressmen, they never be the member of the Congress, they don't know the ideology of the Congress. And this is the time the High Command must come in and remove these guys.
No, but I don't think Navjot Singh Sidhu is... Rahulji, sir, the problem is that no one's listening to the High Command. The High Command is so enfeebled that Navjot Singh Sidhu doesn't... He is showing the political version of the middle finger to the High Command. He's doing what he wants. Couldn't particularly care about what the Gandhis think. Obviously, they wouldn't like this to happen. This whole spectre that's playing itself out, a delegation going to Dehradun, Harish Rawat coming out saying don't fight. This is playing itself out in a very ugly fashion. Raghav Chadha and Kejriwal are laughing all the way to every polling station that they'll go to.
I totally agree with you. This is not the way the party president should be behaving. He should join hands with Captain Amarinder. He is the government. He is the chief minister. Whatever he wants has to be in line with the chief minister. Only then he will be able to get whatever he is talking about.
Sir, you are telling me.
And Captain Amarinder is a very magnanimous guy, a very big heart.
Fateh Bajwa ji, Sidhu nu dasso, mainu das rahe ho.
Sidhu nu pahunch gaya. Sidhu nu.
I don't think so. That's the problem. You're telling us on national TV what should be happening inside your party. That's the conversation that should be happening within.
But look, we have already conveyed it to the party high command. And look, he has to fall in line. He has to fall in line.
And what if he doesn't? As an MLA of the Congress party, Fateh Bajwa, can I ask you a direct question? If Navjot Singh Sidhu and his advisors fail to fall in line, will you demand that Sidhu be sacked?
We will act. Look, we are with Captain Amarinder Singh doing a remarkable job in Punjab. And party high, we will recommend the party high command to immediately come and make them walk together. This is the time to walk together, shoulder to shoulder. And this Congress has very fair chances to win the elections. And this is high time. I think within a week's time, it should be sorted out.
Ramesh
and
Vinayak,
they should move hand in hand.
No, you're saying would, should, could, must, but the question is what's happening on the ground. Ramesh Vinayak, where do you see this battle end? Captain Amarinder Singh cannot possibly like what's going on. Sidhu refusing to rein in the likes of Malvinder Mali. Captain will wonder whether he's propping up these characters to call him Ali Baba and Chalis Chor. Where do you see this infighting end?
Rahul, truth be told, there is a lot of mutual mistrust between Captain Amarinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu. It's a fact, the High Command broker truce is proving to be very fragile and uneasy. It actually is not, holding on. And with Harish Rawat today drawing a line and saying that Amarinder would, lead the party in assembly election next year, I think this attempt by the Sidhu camp to kick up a kind of rebellion against Amarinder seems to have fizzled out for the time being. But I don't think that Sidhu camp would, buy peace with Amarinder or sort out their differences. So these fault lines between Amarinder and Sidhu, I think, are only going to get sharper
Who'll win
and
this battle?
wider as we move close to elections.
Because you can't go in with Captain and Sidhu fighting like this. Something has to give. What could that be?
See, at the moment, the fact is, and this is the traditional Congress person mentality, they look for their signals from the High Command. Till about a month ago, they got a signal that the High Command was firmly behind Sidhu. And you saw suddenly number of MLAs gravitating towards Sidhu. Now, a month later, they've also realized that Captain isn't going anywhere. So some of them are also going back to the Captain. I am told out of the 80 MLAs, about 15 to 16 are firmly with the Captain. 15 to 16 are firmly with Sidhu. And the remaining are going to go whichever way the wind blows.
Can't say.
No, you see, yeah, because that's the nature of the Congress party. This is a party which is inured to power. The moment they know which direction, who has the power, control, or who's going to be the next chief minister, they will move in that direction. At this stage, these advisors that have been set up is a recipe for disaster, because as was being suggested, they are effectively extra constitutional authorities. You see, ministers rebelling because they fear that Captain may remove them from the cabinet is one thing. That you expect to happen. But when extra constitutional authorities make statements on Pakistan, on Kashmir, attack the ministers in the government, attack Captain Amarinder Singh, then you've got to start wondering about Mr. Sidhu's political maturity. Does he have the maturity to manage a factionalized Congress? Politics is not just about popularity. Particularly in parties like the Congress, it's about managing people. Sidhu is still untested. I said it then, he could be an untested missile. He could work fabulously well for the Congress, or he could push the Congress further behind.
But it's not just your ability to campaign. You also need booth managers. You need people in every district, in every constituency who will go out and fight for you. It's not a reality television show where you crack some joke, people start laughing, and that's enough to win an election.
No, that, Rahul, could be managed organizationally. The Congress does have an organization like the Akalis in Punjab.
What if Amarinder Singh pulls his hand away?
That we don't know. That's another X factor. But my point at the moment is he hasn't done that. My point is Mr. Sidhu was empowered by the Congress High Command, was given a sense that he's being blessed by the High Command. But he wasn't blessed to appoint his own advisors almost as a parallel cabinet. By doing that, what you've done is created another potential source of friction in what is already a fragile relationship based on mistrust. And I would like to know, where is the Congress leadership in Delhi anymore? Priyanka Gandhi is not in town. The photograph there with Sidhu, she's the one who's supposed to have pushed for Navjot Sidhu.
She's gone for son's admission abroad.
Is Rahul Gandhi in a position to bring Captain and Navjot Singh Sidhu together and get them to resolve these differences? Is Sonia Gandhi willing to do that? Till today, there hasn't been a proper face-to-face meeting between Captain and Sidhu called by the High Command in Delhi. They've always met separately. which is the basic thing to do. Do you really think Harish Rawat has the political equity to resolve this? He's more worried about, will he become the next Chief Minister of Uttarakhand? He's got an election in 6 months. What kind of a
and
bizarre...
he doesn't know yet whether he'll be the Chief Minister.
What kind of a bizarre situation, Rahul, are we in? Is that the General Secretary of your party in charge of Punjab is actually gunning to become the next Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, when his primary responsibility should be to resolve this in Punjab?
Elections are due at around the same time.
Absolutely, exactly at the same time.
So now, Ramesh Vinayak, who has the support of more MLAs? Most of these MLAs were picked by Captain Amarinder Singh in the 2017 elections. At this moment, if there was to be a ballot inside the Congress, who has the support of more MLAs?
Rahul, clearly, Amarinder has support of majority of MLAs, and this it's a fact. Even on ministers, only 4 ministers have rebelled against him, and they all, are known to be in Sidhu camp. So I think Amarinder is still in control, and this attempt to kind of start a revolt, has seemed to have lost the steam at the moment.
Okay, you're saying the steam is running out, but then the one X factor, Raghav Chadha, about which there's a lot of buzz in Punjab, is the possibility of the farmer unions getting together and setting up their own party. If that were to finally come through, do you think that that could be an X factor? Because a lot of the anti-incumbency vote, because of the popularity that's been seen in rural Punjab for these farmers, a lot of that anti-incumbency, instead of coming to you, could then go to this new farmers party if it comes through.
Look, Rahul, this is a hypothetical. It's a pure hypothetical question, and I can't possibly answer this. Once there is any such development to this effect, of course, we will, of course, do our own analysis, measure their, the response on the ground, and make a statement on this. As far as these advisors is concerned, I just wanted to make a brief intervention here. Look, the Congress was corrupt, incompetent, absolute non-performer in the state of Punjab. Now, these advisors, these recently appointed advisors by Navjot Singh Sidhu, have also, started playing to the galleries. They are now, started essentially raising this anti-national sentiment. And, I don't know who these people are appealing or appeasing to. Are they appealing to the fringe, the extremists, the fundamentalists? No, I mean, these statements that have come from, these advisors, particularly Malvinder Mali, are to the effect that Kashmir does not belong to India. Kashmir is a separate country and India is in illegal possession of Kashmir. I mean, these are illegal, criminal, unconstitutional statements, and these people should be booked. You have a situation where Sidhu has not even condemned these statements. So does this mean that he is endorsing these statements? Is he trying to appease a particular section?
Mr. Bajwa, this Malvinder Singh Mali says Kashmir is a country of Kashmiri people. He says Kashmir has been turned into an open jail. We are going against United Nations resolutions. We've usurped the territory of Kashmir. Now, this could be a Hurriyat separatist talking, or a terrorist talking, or a Pakistani talking. If your man appointed by your party's PCC chief as advisor is going to say these things, you are giving the AAP, the BJP and the Akalis AK-47 to attack you with.
And Punjab is a border state, Rahul. Let us not forget that. Statements coming from advisors appointed by Navjot Singh Sidhu must be viewed very, very seriously. This is treason. This is sedition.
Mr. Kanwalji, it is absolutely right that Mr. Mali's statement was atrocious, ill-conceived, and its own imagination. The party has condemned it. Captain Amarinder Singh has condemned it.
Sidhu hasn't condemned it.
I totally believe that
Sidhu hasn't said a word.
And he must do that. I mean, that is absolutely. He's his advisor. He should have pulled him down. He should have got him out of his advisors list. This is what we are exactly saying. Mr. Sidhu is new in Congress. He doesn't understand. He's been given 4 working presidents. Whether he
but he is not new to India.
He's not taking them in
at least not new to India. He's an Indian, no? Allegedly,
he should have condemned it. He should have condemned it. I myself say that there should be a case of sedition against this Mali guy.
No,
Because
so sedition is a whole separate
This kind
argument.
of,
I'm not a big fan of sedition cases, but what is being said is politically suicidal. It also gives opposition parties an opportunity to attack the Congress.
Our party has condemned it. Mr. Rawat has condemned it, and Captain Amarinder has totally condemned it openly. This now Mr. Navjot Singh, who has to, he has to take stock of his team.
Rahul,
the advisors he's got, he has to take stock of them.
Bajwa Sahab, your Pradhan, your Pradesh Committee Pradhan Navjot Singh Sidhu has not condemned it. He has not withdrawn these advisors. These advisors continue to function. These advisors continue to advise him also and speak on his behalf also. It can only be assumed that this is the view of the Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee, that Kashmir should be a separate country and India is an illegal possession of Kashmir. I mean, this is absolutely unconstitutional, illegal, criminal. At the end of the day, all of us are Indians. I mean, forget Congress, Sidhu being a Congressee or a non-Congressee. At the end of the day, allegedly, he's an Indian, right? How can he tolerate such statements?
So, when the Mughal dynasty was towards the end of their empire, now you've got a situation where Mr. Bajwa is agreeing more with Raghav Chadha than he is with Navjot Singh Sidhu. But Raghav Chadha is not in charge of his party. Navjot Singh Sidhu is, and he's not agreeing with any of what his own party.
We are visiting Bajwa Sahab's constituency tomorrow morning.
Look, the party, Kanwalji.
See, he's inviting you to join AAP, I think.
Raghavji, you're welcome there.
No.
You welcome there. No, he's not inviting me to join AAP. I'll never do that. There is somebody else whom I defeated. He wants to go and get in the party. Best of luck to him.
We will see who defeats.
Okay, but that's a different matter, when historians look back towards the end of the Mughal dynasty, you look back and wonder what were they thinking and what were they doing. Because a lot of the moves the kings made towards the end of the empire was suicidal. And a lot of what we are seeing, whether it is in Chhattisgarh, whether it is in Rajasthan, whether it is in Punjab, is as clear as day suicidal.
Look, and maybe my friend Rashid will have a different view. The fact is, I will give the benefit of the doubt to the Congress High Command that they needed to take some decision in Punjab. There is anti-incumbency against the captain. There was a need in some way to find a new way in which you would approach this election. But you can't have halfway house approaches. You can't create a situation wherein you haven't really rebuilt trust, but only appointed two individuals. The same thing is in Chhattisgarh. You have, by some reason, given Mr. Baghel the chief ministership and T.S. Singh Deo was a minister, but you haven't been able to rebuild trust. You haven't been able to do that between Sachin Pilot and Ashok Gehlot in Rajasthan. You don't have an Ahmed Patel-like figure. Look, Ahmed Patel, all said and done, 24/7 used to spend his time managing these various factional disputes. That's part of the challenge of being a Congress, particularly in the Congress, a politician based in Delhi. You don't have anyone there. Who is that individual who you trust implicitly, whom the Gandhi family, the dynasty will trust implicitly to actually work out these various arrangements?
Priyanka seemed to be slipping into that role.
It cannot be Mr. Venugopal, who has no experience really in the Hindi heartland where you need to grow again. And Priyanka Gandhi Vadra is going to, she is General Secretary in charge of UP. She's not even, then make her that. Make her the political secretary to the Congress president and tell her that's her role. Rashid is smiling when I say that. But maybe that's, you need someone. Is Rahul Gandhi willing to play that role? Of actually ensuring that these various ruptures are healed? It's one thing for him to hold these press conferences as he has every right to hold on what the Prime Minister is doing. But these are the organizational issues where the Congress at the moment is atrophying because there's nobody to manage them. That's what I feel. Rashid may have a different view.
Final words, I'm out of time.
I think we are being too critical and judgmental about Congress party. It is true that Congress is going through a very bad patch. See, the regional satraps don't listen to AICC General Secretaries. They want everything at Gandhi's doorstep. And Gandhi's, you see, there is that quick response mechanism is not there. So that is something that is, making. But I think on the advisors issue, you will see that within 48 hours, there will be some kind of progress and some action will be there. about Punjab, Punjab has had a very checkered history. I don't want to just go on quoting what Amarinder Singh had said in 1984 or what Akali's stand was when they burned the copies of Indian Constitution. What the advisor has said is atrocious case should be registered, but there is everybody is guilty of it, including the Aam Aadmi party in the previous election in 17. Some of the pronouncements were objected upon.
Okay, so that's a matter for another debate. We'll come into that some other time. At this moment,
I'm just saying that you should see it in context. See, the Congress leadership is seized of the matter, and there will be some resolution. I don't think it's kind of political suicide that you are terming it. Just wait and watch. Elections are 5 months away. It's not just that, Congress is still on the winning position.
And they're trying very hard to change that. They're trying very hard. They're trying as much as possible to ensure that it no longer stays that way. Anyway,
this outcome will determine that.
Most certainly, but they're trying their best to jeopardize their own chances. For the time being, Rajdeep Sardesai, Raghav Chadha, Fateh Bajwa, Ramesh Vinayak and Rashid Kidwai for still having hope and faith. Thank you very much for joining us. Rashid Kidwai says in 48 hours the problem will solve itself. Let's see if that happens. Otherwise, we'll just call them all back and have another discussion, because the situation is indeed going from bad to worse.
And also, Rahul, it is a sensitive border state. It's not just another state. You've got a farmers' agitation. I was in Punjab a few days ago. All the toll plazas are still occupied by agitating farmers. Punjab is a state that needs to be managed sensitively.
And in no team can you have the captain and the vice captain fighting with each other in this fashion, and the vice captain not accepting that Amarinder is his captain. This is a situation that is a recipe for disaster, and the disaster is getting worse.